This episode of Sewing Out Loud is brought to you by the Made to Measure Leggings class from sewhere.com. This online class brings ZD right into your sewing room to show you how to measure, draft, and construct a pair of leggings based on your personal measurements. Go to sewhere.com/leggings to find out more and get access to all the videos and course materials immediately. That's sewhere.com/leggings.
Welcome to Sewing Out Loud, the official podcast of ZD Sewing Studio. Here are your hosts, ZD and Mallory.
Sewing Out Loud. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm Mallory Donahue.
And I'm ZD Donahue.
And today we're going to talk about using the thrift store as a resource for sewing and making materials.
Yes.
I don't think we need to talk about like buying a sewing machine at a thrift store because we've done an episode on like used machines.
And I mean, I think y'all know, you have to be cautious.
Sure.
If it's $15 and it doesn't work, maybe that's not the end of the world.
Yeah, but right. But if it's $15, you got to pay $100 to get it serviced.
And I think the other thing is you understand that they don't understand the equipment.
Oh, yeah.
We've had people buy embroidery machines, and then they brought them in, but they don't have the embroidery unit with them.
Integral parts missing.
And a lot of times you cannot replace an embroidery unit.
Yeah, that's very true.
Right.
And, there are also different types of thrift stores.
Yes.
In the world.
Yes.
There are like consignment stores,
Right.
and then there are places that work on donations.
Right.
And there are places that like kind of work on really nice donations.
And there's pawn shops.
And there's pawn
Right.
shops, okay? Yeah, absolutely. And ZD and I, we love thrifting.
Right.
In fact, there was a thrift store across the street from the old shop.
Right.
And I had to stop going.
Mallory got like in this addictive circle for like about 3 or 4 months. And I'm like, no, you can't go there every morning.
Stop. Yeah,
you can't go there every morning and buy yourself a present.
Like an hour before the shop, so I'd like get to the shop earlier than that. Work a little bit.
No,
like,
not
that
we didn't find some neat stuff there.
Absolutely.
Are you? And I think the other thing you have to be aware of is buying something because it costs $2. It doesn't mean you need it.
Okay.
It doesn't mean you have room for it.
People are like, go to the thrift store to save money.
Right.
But that is not what would happen to me.
Right.
If I had, let's say I have $200.
Right.
I could spend the $200 anywhere.
That's right. That's right.
That is my. Now, I've actually sort of been working on that, and a few of our sewing people are in the budgeting groups I'm in.
Right.
And so anyway, yes, be aware that you're not just buying, especially for those of you who have limited space, and everyone has a limit to their space in some form or
you
another.
can also buy so much that you don't know what you have anymore.
Yeah,
that can
absolutely.
happen too.
You know what I did? I never got to teach this class, but they had all these books, for sale, of course.
Right.
And I bought cool looking books.
Right.
And I was planning on teaching a make your own book purse class,
Right.
but never got around to it.
You made a book sewing kit too.
I did, and there's a blog up about that, and that was satisfying to me. But just know thyself, okay, and know if this is a healthy thing for you to do or not. And we're going to talk a little bit about our own experiences and some things that are like a really good, maybe that we think are a really good idea to buy at thrift stores and other things that you might want to, take a second look at. One thing that pops into my brain is scavenging for buttons.
Buttons, which means they don't have a bin of buttons.
Right.
But they have blouses and shirts and garments that have buttons on them.
Yes.
So it may be well worth it to you to spend $5, $10 on something to get a whole set of buttons.
Shoot, or $2 and you get a whole set of buttons.
Well, I'm just saying up to that, but something could be that expensive.
Absolutely. Or the beads. Kind of like buying a garment for the beads or for some type of embellishment on it.
Right.
I remember, I've mentioned this before, it was really hard for us to get stretch lace in town
here.
Yeah. This is a long time ago.
Right.
But actually, I would say our stretch lace isn't that, the selection isn't that great right now. You
don't get to walk up and feel it. I think you can order a lot of it.
No, that's what I mean, like in town.
Right.
And I bought a bunch of these. They were like stretch lace bomber jackets.
Right.
On sale. This was not at a thrift store. It was at a department store.
Right.
And they had also had big separating zippers in them. So I was actually like getting sewing supplies.
Right.
I mean,
you can come upon a rhinestone zipper or something like that, which, those are $20, $25, $30 retail. And,
exactly.
You do want to look and see how much wear and tear is on them. And this is on anything, or how difficult they are to get out of the garment.
That's right.
If they're really, really difficult, you might do something to the integrity of it. Taking it out.
I have had a few people who used to do custom work, and actually I'm fixing a sleeping bag for a very close, dear friend of mine. They've gone and they have found the appropriate size zipper that is still functional.
Right.
That could go on.
Oh, they went to a thrift store?
Yeah. So, I found this, and I can, use it here and, blah, 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 blah. So, that can be useful if you find some type of, like, element of a garment that is useful to you, that you can reuse on another garment. That can be helpful. And we also do this with clothes that we are going to get rid of.
Right.
We'll take the zipper out, or then we'll use the garment like for a rag or something.
Right.
If
I have something that's got a fantastic zipper in it that's not worn, and I will take it out. Or buttons. Whatever. I used to be really big even on jean zippers because, of course, I used to totally take jeans and deconstruct them and save the parts of them.
Oh, yeah. And we would use then the pieces for samples in class for people to sew on.
Right.
Yeah. No, we were really good about using all of the parts of that garment. So buttons, zippers. I have even come across detachable collars on coats that I like.
That happens.
I actually have like a fur collar downstairs that needs to go on something.
And for those of you that are not vegan, you can come up on a leather source.
Yes.
So it can be a leather, here's this huge leather coat. It doesn't fit me. Oh, but because leather, real leather comes in hide pieces anyway. It never comes in full pieces. But I do have a leather skirt that I bought at a I don't know if it was resale or thrift or what, but I mean, it was one of those types, and it was purple leather, and I'm like, I got a purple purse out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And or even, I want to make myself a little card holder right now.
Right.
And I was just touching, actually, right before we recorded this podcast, what was I doing? Like brushing a piece of leather we have against my face. Right. And I don't like the color of it. So I think maybe I want to dye it.
It can be dyed.
But it's really soft.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, leather sources. And I know some people who are vegan with the exception that they will wear thrifted.
Because it's already happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm not going to get into
right.
whether that's okay or not, but whatever,
I'm not being critical one way or the other. I think anybody can.
Now, maybe I should bring up
decide what to do
before we break and before we get too far into this. There have been some articles written on the ethics of buying clothing at thrift stores, and the fact that, wealthier people or people of means, like me and you, will go in there and buy clothing that could have served people who actually need to buy clothing at that price.
I
something to consider.
I have actually, but I remember being told that once.
Yeah.
That could have been for someone who didn't have any money or whatever. And I've read articles too. And my conclusion, personally, for me is there's also a plethora of clothes out there. There's too many clothes.
When you hear about
It didn't used to be that way, but now it is.
When you hear about the excessive textile waste in our country, I guess the numbers are really not, what do I want to say? They're not accurate. And even,
that's the other thing.
Even that number about the clothing industry being the second biggest polluter in the world.
Right.
The firm that released that stat has come out and said, this was used incorrectly. This is almost impossible to quantify. Can the clothing industry do better?
Right.
Of course.
Well, we all can do better at whatever we're doing, right?
But there are, I'll share the article. The New York Times did a piece on it.
Right.
And so anyway, it's something to keep in mind.
Right.
Maybe you want to make sure that you are doing something to help people in need.
Well, I think the other thing is I donate to those places too.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of when you say recycle, I'm making the circle.
Yeah.
Not only might be buying from those places, but I'm giving back to those places.
Yeah, or are you doing something? Now, the funds also raised from those stores,
Exactly.
a lot of times will go to programs that benefit people in need.
It depends on what kind of store it is. There are thrift shops that are there are consignment shops that are in the business of the money,
it funds something.
No.
Oh.
What I'm going to say is a lot of consignment shops, the money goes back to the the person's garment part. So a percentage goes back to them and a percentage goes to run that store.
Yeah.
Now, we have a very high-end thrift store here that's run by
the auxiliary.
Yeah, the women's auxiliary. And they have very expensive things, including furniture and housewares and things like that. And it goes to children's health funds.
Right.
So, however expensive that, and I have found like Escada clothing in there.
Oh, yeah. There's
things like that. And, and I don't feel like when I'm buying that, I'm taking that away from a person with lesser means than me.
No, so they're giving you value.
Right. And I'm not saying
donation.
that Escada garment did not cost $15.
Right.
It just didn't cost $2,000.
Yes.
But, so, there's all those things to take into consideration.
Just as you shop or as you come across these things, just, that's something that you can personally research and make your own decisions on. So I just wanted to bring it up in case someone was going to email.
Right. And those are all things we should think about.
Yeah. I love it that we can kind of think about our purchases as actual actions that have an impact on our world.
Right.
I think that's really good. And I'm not perfect at all.
Well,
So,
one of my
here.
favorite things about thrift shops, resales or whatever, was costuming too.
Oh yeah,
especially like shoes or accessories. So I didn't have to make the hat, or I had a hat to build up on.
Yes,
or that was just always great for me.
Yeah. So finding a foundation garment, like even something as simple as a T-shirt that you could build onto.
You don't mean specifically underwear.
No,
you
no,
mean
no.
like a base of that costume, right?
Yes. So finding a base dress.
Bridesmaids dresses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so wonderful for
Talk about
stepsisters, right?
Yes, yeah.
Cinderella's
princess.
stepsisters.
I'm a princess of
But I want to go back to the leather since I went off on that tangent about sustainability and your purchasing habits. I believe that it was in our group that someone said that they got into kind of a fight with someone about a big leather coat at a thrift store. She'd put it in her cart and walked away from her cart, and someone took it, and they were both.
I guess that could happen anywhere,
they
but
were both wanting to repurpose this garment.
Right, they both had the same idea.
Yes, and they. So I thought that was pretty funny.
That is pretty funny.
The other thing before we take our break, you can kind of test things out with thrifted garments. Something that I'm wanting to see if I like or not are bodysuits that have that are button up collared shirts.
So you're taking a blouse and you're saying attach a panty of some sort.
So
So you take a ready-made blouse and attach a panty.
Yeah. So I don't want to make. I don't want to cut a collar.
You don't want to put your time into it.
I don't want to do all of that.
You just don't want to put your time into
it. And add a panty to it and have made that collar and then be like, you know what? I don't like this.
Yeah.
Because I would be like, oh no, I've cut off this shirt. Now I know that I could add back onto it and stuff, but that's not really what I'm wanting to do, And so, yeah, I just think it's better for me to buy, a button-up shirt that sort of fits me.
Sure.
Give it a shot. But actually, you know what I did? Our hairdresser gave me a bunch of clothes. And that's what I'm going to do with it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So you can also do things like that at clothing swaps and stuff. So if you want to experiment with, a style that you're not sure that you will like, you can do that with thrifted clothing too. Okay, let's take a break and let's come back and talk about gross things or things that we personally would not thrift.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, ZD. Wouldn't it be cool if everyone who listened to this podcast could learn how to make perfectly fitting leggings directly from you, the leggings expert?
Well, yes, Mal. That's why we produce the Made to Measure Leggings class. I teach anyone, no matter their age, ability, or gender, to make perfectly fitting leggings based on their measurements. And if someone is feeling particularly generous, they can make leggings for anyone who they can get to stand still long enough to measure.
You, yes, you can get immediate access to all the videos and course materials in the Made to Measure Leggings class by going to sewhere.com/leggings. This online class allows you to complete the process at your own pace, and you own it forever, so you can rewatch it as many times as you need.
Stop struggling with the leggings that roll down or sag in the wrong places. I'll be your guide as you create leggings that are made especially for you.
No matter what your equipment or skill level, ZD covers everything from measuring, drafting, cutting, and construction on a sewing machine or serger in this class. Go to sewhere.com/leggings and get started today. Sewing out loud. Okay, what'd you write down there?
I just wrote what I thought the title of this episode should be.
Oh, well, that's good.
I put Thrift and Resale Resourcing.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it should be Resale and Thrift Resourcing, so that all that
I did want to,
isn't
I
together.
kind of wanted to include like the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I do think that there are things you should think twice about thrifting.
Yes.
We heard from a few people when we used to run the shop. They said, "Oh, I go and buy old sheets to like back a quilt."
Yeah.
And I'm like, how old are the sheets?
Well, and you can find sheets still packaged.
Yes.
Yes. So anything that's like still packaged, obviously,
Of course.
I would think it would be a pretty wise choice.
Well, okay, so Carmen was making those dresses a while back. I mean, maybe like a year or so back, where she was saying,
you mean those gorgeous dresses?
I made this from a thrifted sheet. And I'm like, where'd you get these sheets?
Yeah.
Because you are beautiful.
No, and she did say, I know on several of them, that they were new and still in the package.
They were in the package.
Yes.
So someone donated them without
Right.
opening them, or a store donated
Right.
them, or whatever.
Right.
So that's one thing.
Because they were really pretty. They were, they had a print, like a floral or something.
I'm picturing like a black and white floral.
Right, that's the one
like
I'm thinking of, too.
There was a
Yeah.
green one too. So
There was one that was sort of tropical looking.
Yeah. So Carmen made these, gorgeous dresses. Well, those were sheets that had obviously a beautiful design on them, but they were in the package. But like, if I spend a bunch of time on a quilt top,
yeah,
I would really, because they were piecing the sheets together because they weren't as wide.
They weren't as
needed
big
to
as
be
they
in the
needed anyway.
First place, 'cause
Yeah.
the sheet's not as big as like your comforter generally.
Right.
And like, so is it the same color?
Well,
exactly? Is it
but
the same? I'm like,
the problem with that is if it's a worn
Yeah.
sheet, if it's been used,
Mhm.
okay, it is worn in some place. Also, if it's been used, somebody's naked body's been on it, and I don't know what they've been doing on that sheet. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh,
So I
Carly.
would have to bring it home, and it would go like, in my washing machine with a large dose of bleach, okay, and then it would be rinsed like 4 times, so by the time I finished with it, it'd be threadbare probably
Right.
anyway.
Yeah, so that kind of gives me pause. Carly from the Straight and Curly podcast, they were talking about what they wear when they sleep, and she was like, I feel like if I don't wear underwear to sleep, then the bed like becomes my underwear. And I was like, oh, that's a really good way to put it.
True.
No, I
Yeah.
so whatever
Well,
whatever
and
you like
I
to
mean-
do. But anyway, I thought that was really funny, and I'm like, I just don't know if I'd buy 2 like disparate sheets that weren't in the package to like back my quilt.
But all I can think of is, I'm assuming, when she was making these quilt tops, the person I know that was making them,
Yeah.
these were all new fabrics she bought. This was, and wonderful batting and thread and all, the time cutting all of this. I mean, these weren't simple quilts. These were things that had hundreds and hundreds of pieces, put into these blocks. And then she's putting something that I would consider not the same grade.
Yeah.
So
what I would hate,
I just,
And
it's
this
just
isn't-
a shock to me.
this isn't us we're snobs, okay, fully admit that. But this isn't us being snobbish here. I think it's more like, have you considered how this will wear on your quilt?
Well,
over
yeah, I
time?
feel like you just sort of degraded, your project.
You don't know if
right.
that fabric, since it is sort of of unknown origin, you don't
right.
know if it's going to hold up the
right.
same way. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of us being snobs, but also,
but no, you still don't know. You still don't know how much fiber is left in it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could feel it and guess.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, or whatever? But you all have lint traps in your dryer. Every time you wash something, it loses fiber.
Oh, and I can see, I don't know what's wrong with my husband, but so we sleep in the same bed, and his side of the bed is always like
greasier.
Yeah. I'm like, what is going on
I know.
here?
No, I think my husband's skin is oilier than mine.
Yeah.
Because like his pillow, I think I can tell your head was there, and I have a lot more hair than him.
Right.
So if it was going to be like greasy hair or something.
So your hair is absorbing all your grease. Maybe
no, I just think he's oilier.
Yeah.
But everybody's different.
So I would be careful that kind of using the old sheet or using the fabric sort of.
Now, there are people that say, oh, I'm going to make a muslin out of an old sheet. Yeah, I can kind of understand that too. But another thing is, if it's been washed and washed and washed, it loses its body, its drape too.
Really
I don't know, what garment are you making that resembles a worn out sheet?
There you go. And maybe you are,
I don't know. Right.
Mom's really right. Like our advice, this advice bears repeating because it gets asked a lot. What do you use for muslin fabric? And bottom line, no matter where you buy it or how you buy it or what color it is or whatever, or it needs to be of the same characteristic of your final garment.
Right. You want similar fibers, similar weight. Color does not matter usually.
Of course. Yeah. Well, but I guess
you want I've wound up wearing a lot of my muslins turned in. I'm thinking of actually my swimming suit last year that I made as a muslin, and it's my favorite one.
Yeah, if you're new to sewing and you think, oh, to make muslins, I need muslin, I need woven fabric, but then
anymore.
Then you start to get into knits. You don't have that.
And I did that when I first started sewing. Almost everything was a woven fabric, a stable woven fabric. So even if I was going to make a wool, I can think of this wool dress I made. It's come into my mind. It was one of the first things I ever made out of wool, and I actually used I think it was a cotton actually, because I would do that. I would buy, something that was on clearance or something.
Right.
It might not be muslin fabric per se, but it would be, a woven like cotton. And
I would also be careful.
That's all sort of changed.
Yeah, I also want to circle back to the sheets and the muslin fabric. Some people say, oh, look for jersey sheets to make knit muslins. Be careful. Those jersey sheets aren't always the type of knit that you will be using.
And the other thing is those fibers believe me, have become askew because they've been pulled and put on beds and laundered.
A jersey sheet is stretched out when it is on the bed. Like it is really
right. It can become distorted.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Just like you said. So, and also jersey sheets don't always contain spandex.
Oh, no,
right?
not at all.
They're knitted. Remember this?
I've never seen a sheet with spandex.
So remember this piece of information that a jersey might be knitted and it might be stretchy, but it is not elasticated like maybe your final
leggings or whatever
would be. Yeah. Yes. So please keep that in mind. Now, if you're going to go make something out of a thin jersey with no elastane in it or no spandex or whatever, maybe that is appropriate. Right. But just don't let that don't let somebody gloss that over.
Right.
Paint all knits as being compatible with a jersey sheet. It's not true.
Not all jerseys are the same. Yeah. Not all spandex fabrics are the same.
Sure.
I shouldn't talk about this. I have too much swimming suit fabric. Okay, I have all this swim fabric.
You just whispered that.
Yeah. Okay, I have all this swimsuit fabric. Okay, but anyway.
Yes, you do.
And it's all different weights.
Yes.
It's all different.
And we recorded this episode on swimwear stuff. I swear to God we covered this, and people are really asking about it now. So
it's this time of year. People make a lot of swimwear.
It's the time of year. Yep.
It's the beginning of a season. So, yes, a lot of people are talking about swimwear lining.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been suggestions to go to the thrift store and purchase something and it become the lining.
Yep.
Right? Again, it's almost like the quilt. If you're putting the time into it,
right,
and you've got a good swimwear fabric, I don't know why you're skimping on the lining.
And
the lining is almost more important than the outer fabric.
Okay, if you find a swimsuit, so let's say you found a swimsuit in a thrift store that was like brand new and had the tags on it.
Oh.
Still, like, I bet you can't cut out your lining.
No, you need to just wear that.
Yeah, you need to just wear that. Now, that is where,
Okay, think about this. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's laws in our state that you can't try on a swimsuit without your underwear.
There are lots of laws in our state.
Yeah, there's
anyway,
ones we don't approve of. But anyway, but there are laws in most states that you cannot try on a swimming suit without your underwear on, and or they have a paper hygienic liner in it that if it's not in there, the store cannot sell it to you.
Right.
Okay? So why would I go to a thrift store where I don't know whose booty's been wrapped in what, right? And then, I mean, talk about Clorox.
I mean, some people might be okay with it. I might. I don't know. I wouldn't.
Well, don't tell me about it.
I might
if you do that, I don't want to know.
Okay, I might be more inclined to buy a swimsuit versus underwear, and that makes no sense. Why do I have this?
Well, the other
difference?
thing about buying a swimsuit that's been worn and used and is it's been in chlorine and it's been in something. If nobody even got it wet while it was on their body, it's been sweated in. I can guarantee you.
Yeah, a swimsuit is something that really benefits from being cared for well, and you just can't know if it's been cared for. So I'd just be hesitant or know what you're getting into.
I just think this might be like a ZD rule. I swear I'm going to write this book of rules or whatever. Is don't compromise on something that you have put time in and go, oh, it's just the lining.
Yeah.
Okay, the line. If you are lining something, it is just as important as the outer fabric, as the fabric that shows. In fact, a lot of times it's more important because it is going to be supportive and it's going to be up next to your body. For instance, we have made swimming suits out of fabrics that we did not feel were beefy enough to be swim fabric, but we lined it with a fabric that beefed it, right?
Yep.
That made it.
I've made swimsuits out of like ITY knit that I knew would let go of water easily, but that was far too thin to just wear straight
and it
over
wouldn't
my body.
hold its own shape by itself, or
Absolutely.
it would be, you'd be able to see through it. All of these different things. The lining that I put in a swimming suit is as good or better as the outer fabric.
Outside.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you're thrifting for this type of thing, just be careful. But even other than like the quality or the hygiene or anything like that, I just thought, how do you find the swimsuit that has enough surface area that you could then cut out?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I mean, I could see maybe for like cups.
I guess if you got a size like 4X swimsuit and you were making it for your infant,
right? Yeah,
it'd have to be like a really big suit.
And
well,
then
the other thing is probably the first time you wear a swimsuit, whether you get it wet or whatever, and like I said, body oils get on it, perspiration, all of this. You have started to basically attack the integrity of the fabric. All those things that happen with a swimsuit break it down.
Yeah.
A swimsuit, actually needs to be more durable than most garments.
And then when you make a swimsuit, the way you preserve it is by rinsing it right away.
Always rinse it. Even if you have just worn it and you didn't get in the pool, you didn't get in the hot tub, or it was really clear. It was just water in the back pool with my kids and it was just out of the hose. So there weren't really any. No, your body oils and whatever. Get on that, and that is what breaks it down. Even deodorant will break down. Perfumes break down fabric.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you need to rinse.
Okay, well let's move on from the swim.
Was that enough?
Yeah. Did we get across?
Does everybody
our
get
opinion?
it? Okay, and everybody needs to know. I've never used anything labeled swim lining. I have used fabric that spandex fabric.
Yeah, it does not have to be called swim lining. So. I actually have found this is where I found some lining fabrics, some knit lining fabrics, is in like the slip. Buying a slip that is made of tricot or that is made of some kind of stretchy, what do I want to say? Slick, but sturdy knit. I have found that at a thrift store before. So yeah, while I would never wear thrifted undies that weren't like in a package, I have bought thrifted like slips and lingerie and things like that.
Lingerie gowns. I want to say something about the tricot. A lot of people do line swimming suits with tricot and everything. I find it to lose its shape when it gets wet.
Yeah, I
mean, and it's a very common, but even in ready to wear, it's can be a common lining.
Yeah, not my favorite.
I don't like
either.
it that much.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll tell you what I've done. I had to do many times for people. They will bring me their swimsuits, the bottoms, and at the cheek of the butt,
the lining
droops. Yes, and you have to take it up because it starts to like stretch, and the other fabric because tricot doesn't recover.
Right.
And I know because I hang on tricot.
Right.
Yes,
I know.
It doesn't recover, and it loses its stretch.
The other thing in the lingerie area is bra hardware. Okay?
Actually, I was going to bring that up. Hardware anywhere. Hardware off of a purse. And, we talked about buttons, but there's also like things like little latches and hooks and, all of those things, buckles. I'm trying to, even decorative things like that are on shoes.
Yes.
You can look on shoes and find something that maybe you want to put on another pair of shoes
or
whatever.
The other thing is sewing tools at a thrift store. There are things I try to bring up, if ever we bring up a sewing tool that I'm like, this would last forever.
Right.
And I think we did a whole podcast on that.
We did.
You might find sewing tools at a thrift store.
And your seam ripper is not one that's going to last forever.
Not a seam ripper without a replaceable blade.
That's right.
So that's why I like that surgical one, right?
Seam rippers dull everybody.
Yes, they do. So things like a thread lift or even like an awl or something that, can be sharpened like that. Those are things to keep an eye out for. And you have to look.
We've seen tailor's hams. We've seen, things like that.
Look
pressing
all
tools.
over the thrift store.
Because they don't know what they are.
They don't know what they are a lot of the time. They may not have like a sewing section.
Right.
If you see a sewing machine in a thrift store, but you don't see anything like around it or something, it doesn't hurt to open up maybe a cabinet that it's in or something. There could be things in there.
Right.
There could also be, you could ask the person working at thrift store, did anything else come in with this? Okay? Because there could be...
Because it's in the back and they don't know what it is.
Yes. There could be a box of tools, or there could be something. So always ask for that. So, I'm not a huge fan of like, buying a thrifted machine unless you really know what you're doing. Yeah. But
people have found dress forms.
Yes, dress forms. I'm just trying to think of, other things, in that vein.
Right. Now, I think the one thing about buying things like fabric and soft things is they hold odors.
Yeah.
They hold so you have to think about, can you clean this when you get it home? Other than a hard surface. So depending on how much it costs or if you think you could, like dress forms, if it smells, it may not come out.
Yeah, depending on...
Now, if it costs $4...
give it a shot.
Maybe you want to take it home and just soak that baby with vodka and put it out in the sun and see what happens. I don't know.
Be careful also not to buy too many sewing desks and think that you're going to refinish and paint them all.
Oh, yeah? Do you get too many of those?
It can happen.
Yeah, it happens.
It can happen.
It can happen.
But you can sometimes find a very sturdy table that was meant for sewing. That could come with maybe a machine that's not useful, but it's it's got that.
Right.
You can also find machine cases at the thrift store that might fit your machine, even if it wasn't originally meant for your machine.
I would caution people with things like needles. I would caution you with anything that needs a sharp edge.
Yeah,
scissors, needles. If these things are old and they have, in any way like rusted you can't always see that. Sometimes they're not going to be any good.
Right. So, and always the cost benefit analysis here, right?
That's it.
So, how expensive is it,
Mm-hmm.
and then how much time will it take for you to explore the usefulness of
Right.
the object.
Well, and for instance, that dress form, I brought it home, I soaked it with vodka, I put it in the sun, and it just fell apart. But I now have the stand to
True.
make if I want to do my own body double,
your own
right?
thing, yeah.
So was the stand worth the $4 or $5 I
Right.
spent? Well, it probably was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or did it fall apart? And now you have to figure out how to get rid of it.
Yeah,
You're
that
not
happens
happy,
too.
Or
Yeah.
not, whatever. Okay. So yeah, keep that in mind. Soft things. Okay. I would smell it. If it smells, slightly musty or something, or you're looking at yardage, I would try to unfold the yardage.
Oh, yeah.
We've even gotten yardage from like a relative before where it's like, oh, this is gorgeous, but we unrolled it and there were holes.
Which means there was a varmint in there.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that ate on it, which means there's varmint pee in there too.
Yes.
If you don't find the poop, the pee's in there, I can guarantee you.
Yes. And so it can make it unusable. It can make it unhygienic,
Right.
all that jazz. But if it just has I don't know if this is like common thrift store practice, but I smell Febreze when I go in there. I feel like they just Febreze everything.
I used to go to this resale shop in St. Louis, and I don't know what they put on it.
Yeah.
But it had that smell, which meant it had been through their process.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was like a dry cleaning fluid.
Yeah.
And as soon as I would get it home, I would wash it. In fact, anything I bought there, if it said dry clean, I made sure that I could actually wash it too.
Right. So that you could get
Or,
that out there.
that it wasn't so expensive that if I washed it and ruined it, it wasn't the end of the world.
Right. So, what was it? Oh, but if the fabric only has that smell, maybe you could be like, oh, it's fine. I can wash
Right,
it,
right.
But smoke, that's a
Yeah.
bit of a gamble.
I think they're really good about it nowadays. Like,
That's
a lot
true.
of times they don't even put those things on the floor anymore, I think.
Or they won't accept them.
Right.
And
Mhm. Yeah.
And if you are donating clothing, I've seen a few pieces of what I don't know if it's misinformation, but you need to check with the organization. Some organizations will take damaged clothing.
Yes.
Like they will want that jacket that you took the zipper out of
Right.
that maybe just isn't fashionable anymore, or that is, for whatever
Right.
reason you're getting rid of it. But some won't.
Right.
So check, because I've seen things that are like, don't just throw away damaged clothing. This organization will take it. And then I've seen things that are like, do not donate damaged clothing. So you need
And
you
some
need to
places
check.
won't take undergarments and swimming
Yes,
suits,
that's
things
right.
like that. Now there is also another option if you would like to donate. It is your pet rescues.
Mm-hmm.
They like sheets, they like comforters, they like towels, they like anything that they can make bedding out of.
Mm-hmm.
Here at one of our rescues, they take those things,
Right.
and they have like a formula, like most dog bed. They've got like 3 size dog beds, like small, medium, and large, and whatever it is, they make some of them that are 2 foot by 3 foot or whatever,
Right.
and they keep those, and they love towels.
Yeah.
They love old towels. So a towel that might have bleach spots on it or something, they don't care.
Well,
They're
and
happy.
you can be your own textile recycling plant, and you can cut your stuff up
Right.
and use it to stuff pillows.
That's true.
Like we made all those poofs a while back
Mhm.
that were these, hexagonal like ottomans, and I put whatever the heck
Yep.
I could in there.
I
you
have
know?
stuffed things with serger scraps before.
Yeah, absolutely. You can put,
Yeah.
maybe you want to like kind of start with polyfill or
Right.
around the outside or, stuff like that.
Or the corners. Sometimes you put
put it in the
polyfill like in the
corners.
corners and fill the rest of it
But,
with something else.
Yeah, then it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these fabric
Right.
scraps. And then you're stuffing it in there and you're using it in a
Right.
dog bed. And if it's obviously maybe like a whole shirt doesn't like create the shape or mold to the form.
Right.
So then you just need to get out your rotary cutter and go slash, slash, slash.
Yeah, you can slash
Get
it.
out some anger. And, you've maybe preserved a part of that garment that you want to use later. But then you also are reusing it. And that's kind of one of your best policies in sort of being sustainable is like reusing.
Right.
The fabric production process can pollute. It can cost resources, da-da-da-da-da, all that jazz. I mean...
Always think that everything takes water to make.
Yes.
I swear everything takes water.
On another... So going completely
Right.
off the track here, okay? I'm off the rails.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
toilet paper.
Mallory found a tangent.
I'm going off the rails.
Mallory, a tangent, Mallory?
Yes.
A tangent?
So on the stuff
Tangent toilet paper.
on the Stuff You Should Know podcast, they were talking about bidets.
Uh-huh.
One of the hosts recently had a baby, and then they got this diaper washer,
Uh-huh.
but then they also got a bidet. I is what I'm thinking was going on here. And he was like, "Oh my God, I just love this thing. It's so silly that we
Right.
don't wash our bodies with water.
Right.
We use this dry, toilet paper or whatever." And the other host was like, "Oh, I wonder if when the water shortage comes, if it's going to be people with bidets are going to be persecuted because they're using water
Or smelly.
or whatever." But it takes more water to make toilet paper
than to
use
clean
water
yourself.
to
Yes.
clean yourself. So sometimes it's not as straightforward as one might think. Also,
Well, don't get me off on almond milk.
okay. Also, the guy from the movie The Big Short, where they talk about the housing crisis,
Mm-hmm.
Christian Bale's character who called the housing crisis and
Right.
everything. Just so you know, his real life person, all of his investments right now are in water. So apparently that's what we should be doing.
All right.
How's that for a tangent? Was
Yeah,
that a good tangent?
that's a good tangent.
Everyone, if you're listening in your car, if you're at home, just give me a round of applause. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you very much. I will be here next week too. Okay. All right. So that's our discussion on thrifting. I would love, and when this episode gets posted in the group, I'd like to see the results of your thrifting. Stina is someone in the group who does a lot of refashioning from thrifting.
Right.
Which
And
we almost
actually,
didn't cover here.
Well,
that's
and
another
I
thing.
was going to say, Hillary was big on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my oldest daughter was
Redoing.
really big on that as a teenager. She loved to go get something, and we would, even if we just altered it, but
Yeah.
she loved thrift store shopping like that.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you all for listening to the podcast. We will be here next week with another episode, and you can follow us on Instagram. We're at SoHereCom, and you can always email me at Mallory@SoHere.com. I love to hear from you. Take it away, Mom.
So long and so happy.
Thanks for listening to Sewing Out Loud. For even more expert sewing advice, visit sewhere.com.